everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Eddrick Show. I am your host, Eddrick Jerome. As you know, this is the place for intelligent conversation with interesting people. Please don't forget that the Eddrick Show is now available on all major streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, RSS.com, and a host of others. So in addition to our YouTube channel, please search for the Eddrick Show on your favorite streaming platform and always hit that subscribe button as we continue to grow this thing from the ground up. My guest is Eddrick Brown of Brown Brothers Realty in Fairfield, California. He is the CEO. Eddrick's mission is serving communities of color with the education and the tools necessary to achieve home ownership. Eddrick is also the vice president of ReGen Housing, which is committed to addressing the need for affordable housing in California. So Eddrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here today.
All right, let's get into it. So tell me about Brown Brothers Realty.
Well, Brown Brothers Realty was opened in 2021, 1 year ago, after nearly 19 years of being in the industry, working for big companies such as Remax, Realty One, etc. And I wanted a platform to bring forth my passion, which is to serve the Black and Brown community with education about home ownership.
And we talked a little bit offline, and I know it's really important to you, but maybe you can discuss just how critical it is for home ownership as it relates to generational wealth.
It definitely is a huge correlation to generational wealth. So home ownership, statistically right now, the African American population is at a staggering 42% home ownership versus our other white counterparts at 73%. The Asian demographic is at 57%, pardon me. And the Latino Hispanic population is at 47%. So we're declining and have been, particularly over just the last 20 years. And so there are things that we can do to bring back and raise that number of home ownership in the community.
And what are some of those tactics or strategies, particularly for the African American community? Because you're right, it's important that particularly as our communities become more desirable, gentrification is a whole nother conversation. People are coming back to those areas and finding the lower land value. So how can we protect, our communities, but at the same time, boost home ownership among African Americans?
Well, certainly it starts with boots on the ground. However, the United States certainly needs to address some mechanisms to bring some education in the low to moderate income communities and focus on the 35 to 40-year-old generation who have a rent ownership of 59% or so thereabout, that have a 600 to 700 credit score, that to give them the education and tools to understand what is my credit score, what is my loan to value, how much money do I need down, what kind of grant money is available, how much income do I need, and things like that. Most people just don't know when they want to buy a house that they need $30,000, particularly in our market. At Brown Brothers Realty, I have been a champion to work with a lot of first-time home buyers and get them CalHFA grant money, which is down payment assistance money that I understand very well. And in a lot of cases, we're able to get folks in homes with, $3,000 or $4,000 down payment, and they have no idea this exists. Part of that strategy is having the experience to professionally negotiate a transaction to get seller credit, to get credit from the lender. The bank themselves will give credit, coupled with, again, getting seller credit, things of that nature. It allows homeowners, first-time homeowners, to get into a house relatively easily with minimum down payment, for example. But having the education and the tools available like home buying seminars with lenders and title companies and agents and brokers like myself to bring that knowledge to the forefront in the community.
One aspect of the home buying process is the appraisal process, meaning
Right.
particularly for sellers. And recently in the media, and we've, I guess, intrinsically known this has been going on for quite a while, but there have been some concrete examples, some case studies that African Americans typically are getting less appraisal value for their home. What are some of the ways that people of color in general can remedy that to ensure that they're getting the fair market value for their property?
Well, yes, I'm appalled with the statistics of the disparity in appraised values for an African American family versus our counterparts. And one of the things that for sure is to have a local licensed agent in your area that is very competent of market conditions and values. So at Brown Brothers Realty, the first thing I do for a listing, in which 70% of my business is selling homes, is I certainly do a comparative market analysis based on the attributes of a neighborhood, schools, districts, freeway access, etc., to make sure that I know what the value of a home is, not Zillow or any other outside influences, but it gives recent sales and comps and pending transactions for the same as the subject property.
You are also the vice president of ReGen Housing, REGEN Housing,
Yes.
and particularly when it comes to ADUs. So maybe you can talk to us about ReGen Housing and specifically what are ADUs?
Yes, ADUs are, the acronym is auxiliary dwelling units, also known as granny flats, casitas, or guest homes. It is very prevalent in the state of California as the governor signed a bill into law in 2020, easing restrictions on permits for an ADU, which by design is a home that will be built in the same parcel in a backyard. And they're very prevalent, particularly in the pandemic seasons we've experienced. You need a place for an elderly parent, grandparent. It is an affordable way to build a home. ReGen Housing is a production home builder of 20 years. And our platform, again, is to bring affordable housing to the state of California. As the vice president of sales for ReGen Housing for the last year and 8 months, I champion a lot of conversations in local governments, i.e. talking with county board of supervisors, mayors, council members, who have money, they have land, and it's a matter of, it's really a lot of bureaucracy when you have a solution, trying to get funding for it. But ADUs are also a way for someone who is already a homeowner and maybe a landlord to increase their footprint and generating wealth through adding ADUs, which you could then rent.
Quick aside, so I would imagine that would come with some, I guess, expertise in zoning and planning, because I would think you would have to run power and water and sewage, or are these ADUs complementary to the main structure, meaning that you can tap into existing water lines and things like that?
Well, that's a great question, and that is correct, sir. At ReGen Housing, basically an ADU, if the water line, sewer line is of a certain diameter, we can tap in for the sewer. PG&E is also a part of the plan check through the city. And our pricing for an ADU, for example, a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 740 square foot ADU is $250,000, which includes your permits and fees. They can vary depending on the city, like the sewer. But yes, we tap into existing utilities, and of course, PG&E has to sign off on the power. And at the end of the build, in our case, we can build in 60 business days. It's phenomenal. And occupancy of permit would be issued by the city.
I see.
Yes.
Talking about affordable housing, that's that term. It's a relative term, but it's often combined with either political connotations or social connotations, or you see neighborhoods where there's a potential for building what someone call affordable housing rise up, and we don't want that here. So, in terms of the term affordable housing, what does that mean to you, and why is it so important?
Well, it's very important to me because I have 26-year-old and 27-year-old kids who can't afford a 4,000 plus mortgage payment. They barely make $4,000, which is actually good, right? It used to be. But there's a distinction between affordable housing and low income housing.
Okay.
I cannot speak to low income housing, but affordable housing, there are ways. Part of my mission and platform working with ReGen Housing is we are capable of building a community. We, with local government's help, could build, for example, we could build 100 homes, ADUs, in a community, just like it's happening in Sacramento. They're called tiny home villages. We could build a tiny home village, 100, for example, and they'd be priced in the low to mid 200s, and that's affordable. Senate Bill 9, SB 9, is one of the bills that speak about multiple units and things of that nature. So there could actually be, multiple units on one lot. It just depends on the parcel of land. So we can build anywhere, and that could bring, so there's no limit to whether or not there's a utility such as water. We can use a well water. We can work with septic, and so we can build anywhere. So there's a lot of land available in California still, and there could be some communities built out, and it could be affordable. And these folks, could, a low to moderate income family could afford a mortgage of $1,200 a month. That's bringing affordable housing to the state of California.
Well said. Well said. As we start to wrap up here, and I know this question is probably not one you can answer quickly, but let me ask it anyway. Debt management and management of debt prior to beginning the home buying process. What are some of the ways that you advise your clients regarding managing their debt or figuring out a way to quote unquote manage their debt prior to the home buying process, which makes it easier to possibly maybe qualify for mortgages?
That's an excellent question. And again, to my surprise, over the 2 decades of helping families, a lot of people just aren't apprised of the information of what it takes to buy a home. And knowing your credit score is probably, is very paramount. You need a 620 score can buy you a home, but let's strive for excellence, a 720 credit score. I tell folks, hey, if you only have $2,000 in credit card debt over 4 cards, let's pay them off. It's going to move your score. And we have lenders who will do what's called a rapid rescore for you in less than a week and move that score. And the biggest thing is don't make any major purchases. Like don't go out and get a $500 car note. Like E40 said, don't buy that $80,000 car before you buy a house.
Heard that.
Right? Yes, sir. So things like that.
Well, Eric, as we wrap up here, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Got to give a shout out to London Pope, our barber. What's up, man?
Yes.
For the hookup.
Yes, indeed.
That's a cool brother right there, London Pope. So I want to give him a shout out.
He got me straight.
He got you lined up there, man. Looking good. Looking
he got
good.
me lined up.
Yeah, I'll be seeing him next week.
Excellent.
But congratulations on this, the courage to start a business in this environment. Just to do that is just you should be committed, especially with your mission of trying to bring homeownership opportunities to communities of color, and also your work with ReGen. So if people want more information about your businesses and about what you're doing, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, one of the easiest ways would be my website, bbrfairfield.com. My cell number is 707-332-4429, or they can email me at eric@thebrownfoxteam.com.
All right. And for our YouTube channel viewers, we'll put all the links in the description so you can get a hold of Eric if you have questions or want to explore the opportunities for buying a home. There's never any barriers in a sense, because there's always an opportunity for home ownership, and especially be working with professionals like Eric. So thank you, sir, for coming on the Eddrick Show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. This has been the Eddrick Show. I'm your host, Eddrick Jerome. Again, look for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all your streaming platforms. Please hit that subscribe button as we continue to grow this thing from the ground up. And remember, this is the place for intelligent conversation with interesting people. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.